All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're about to start the class. And as you asked before, yes, this is the last class for that semester. We're about to close down the unit number 4, which is called Business Pitches. And in terms of talking about business, we have been talking a lot about vocabulary. We talk about presenting a prototype and you analyze that and you are giving some comments, and that's fine with it. But some other things that we need to talk, it's about the not so formal communication, or sometimes it is formal communication, but right now we're going to talk about the communication online, which still is common in business, but we also need to talk about the regular common vocabulary. What happens, what's going on when you're using internet, email, or something like an application as a type of messenger like WhatsApp, like the Facebook Messenger, or something similar. There are so many different ones like Telegram, or when you're using Instagram or Facebook or some other like Twitter, you are communicating, and still it can be used for business, but on those places there is communication that uses a little bit of difference in terms of the English language, and it is being accepted right now, but it has its differences. So we need to talk about that and we need to explain it so that when you are going to be working and if you encounter these things, then you know what to do. So like I said, it's mainly a little bit informal, but as it is very common, it has become the way to do it. And especially there are differences between the people who write. Mainly if there is young people, they are going to be using these things a lot. So in terms of generations and differences between generations, yes, you're going to encounter these things. And that's why you need to be careful when you're writing. And if you find this set of differences, well, just try to understand. Okay. So can someone confirm that you can see my presentation on your screen, please?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank
we
you.
can see it.
Good. Thanks a lot. So yeah, mainly we're gonna talk about abbreviations. And of course, we have to go back to business, and that, or for that topic, we're gonna go and visit again irregular verbs. And before we started the class, there was a question, are we gonna have a simple homework? And I was saying like, yeah, something like you used to do on an English class. So the homework is actually referred to this part. In terms of what kind of irregular verbs, very simple ones that you use on business. And yeah, you're just gonna go and play with times and irregular verbs. Yeah, it's about fun. It's supposed to be fun. I don't know if you consider it fun or not, but it is gonna be like that. So 2 parts of this class. First part is about the English abbreviations and common uses in written communication with different media like internet, email, and so on. Like I was telling you, if you're using Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Telegram, and so on, so many different places that you use through internet, well, we need to speak about those abbreviations because they are very, very common. And last but not least, the use of irregular verbs in this. Just because we need to speak about those. And it's a good way to close a class when you have been studying English for so many years. So it's about not forgetting about the irregular verbs because they are present in our lives and we need to study them. And with the difference with regular verbs, irregular verbs, we have to study them and we have to memorize them, which is a little more tiring, but it's okay because it leads us to speak, to communicate, to write, to read better. So with all of that said, let's go and start the class. We're gonna go and start with the abbreviations, and I said a few examples for what the class is going to be. So let's go for that part. In here, you see 3 different tables. They are from an article that was published about language in social media. So like I was telling you, very common ones among the youth. The youth is people that are young, like mostly like teenagers, and some like your age, young adults. But it has become very common for almost every age. Things like LOL, OMG, WTF, BF, BFF, birthday, and for you. So yeah, those things we're gonna be explaining, but not so much about this one, but you already read what it is, and it is on the notes. You can check it on the notes, which is fine with me. And some synonyms, abbreviations, like for saying things like see you, you have different ways to say it, like see you, SU, SU, see you, see you. And all of them means the same, see you. Things like IG or Insta for Instagram. You cannot see it. I mean, I have seen it so much through social media, especially when you're reading something through Facebook and you're gonna see that people say it on the IG. So they're referring that something that was published not on Facebook, but through Instagram, or sometimes on the news. If you're reading something, they are referring to some IG address. So they're talking about Instagram. So yeah, you're gonna keep on seeing those. TBH, to BEH, to BH, which is about to be honest. They are synonyms. Something, it could be SMTH, some, or some THG. And for birthday, you could find B-day, B-D, B-day, B-day. Some different forms of using sort of like an abbreviation, but it's a shortened way to say it. And homonymous abbreviations like AD, used for different things, like, if we can mention some examples, like a name, like for example, Anna Domini, or it could be used for advertisement, for Alzheimer's disease. You're gonna find it and it's the same thing. FYI, which could be for your information or for your interest. BAC, by any chance, back at computer, or back. MOTD, which could be mean makeup of the day, motto of the day, model of the day, music of the day, which is like, there are different meanings, but it's the same abbreviation. LOL is not just laughing out loud, which is the one that we know, but it also is about lots of love, little old lady. BF, which has 2 different meanings, best friends or boyfriend. You are, which means you are, or you're, which is like, they have different meanings. So things like these, we're gonna be explaining them in different ways and what's the meaning of them. And of course, a lot of examples. So let's go and see. Let's move forward to the next. So we need to define what abbreviation is. So it means that we have a lot of words, and sometimes the length of the word is too big. And if we have to write very fast, the tendency is to create abbreviation. So it's also a word building, because you can find that also. And it will be part of different words forming just one abbreviation. And we're going to explain the differences between one word that has been abbreviated, or a couple or 3 or 4 different words put together in an abbreviation. So it has not merely enriched the vocabulary in English, it has provided convenience for English users. So the reason is for convenience, because it's faster. It's a faster way to speak but not verbally, but basically you are going to speak like writing something. And I've seen this that people have been using it for speaking, but it's kind of like it doesn't sound good. Whereas if you read it or if you write it, it sounds like very common. It looks very common. So it represents a kind of trend. Examples, a very simple example, www, which is an abbreviation. And you already know that www, it means World Wide Web, right? And it means that it is about a website. So it's the start of the address of a website, but it's not just that. So let's go and see all of them. Oh, and most of the information over here, it comes from this article that you see here. It was written by San Hong Mei in 2010, and it's called A Study of the Features of Internet English from the Linguistic Perspective. And it is from a magazine called Studies in Literature and Language. It's from the volume number 1, and you have all of the information over there. You also have the webpage that you can go and find the article. So yeah. The first part that we're gonna check is about clipping, which clipping will mean about extracting, like putting together, extracting and putting together different things. And let's see what is written over here. People tend to be economical in writing, which is let's save space and let's save time. To keep up with the fast tempo of the new lifestyle. That's the truth. This is specifically true in internet English. It's mainly for English used through the internet. To save time, one is likely to clip words that are frequently used, like, let's see, a clipping is a short way, like bike for bicycle. That's an example. Then auto for automobile. Then you have taxi for taximeter cabriolet. Ooh, you didn't know that that's the meaning of taxi? That's new for you. And some things like econ for economics, like gym for gymnasium or gymnastics, math for mathematics, trig for trigonometry. When we talk about school life, it's very common to just mention like that. And in some kind of business like catering is related for food business. We can say we eat lunch, and the real word should have been luncheon. We could say have a burger instead of saying the whole word, which is hamburger. And you will find it like it's super, super duper common to just clip the word and say, oh, let's eat a burger. Let's have lunch. And the actual word, like we said, is luncheon. In technology systems, we create unit for university, info, the most common one for information. Netizen, you're gonna keep on seeing these on this article. Netizen is for net citizen, for one that lives on the net. Net news for network news. Size up for system operate. Netiquette for network etiquette, and so on. So a lot of examples. So about clipping is like shortening the word. You actually use a part of the word, just a clip, a little part of the word, and it represents a bigger word. Some of the clip forms are not generally accepted by the conservative linguistics, the conservative English language, or the people who really studies the language, but which are called the scholars. But they are very effective to communicate because it's a faster way when you shorten the word. And so it does exist. So you better watch out for clipping. And so clipping could be classified in those 4 different forms, the ABCD. And those is, let me just explain a little bit about those. Front clipping, which is front at the end of the word, like the front of the word, like For example, cause, and take a look. Because, it represents the word because. And if you take a look, it's the end of the word, cause. But it's not talking about a cause of why a problem happened or when you have an effect. No, it's talking about the word because. So it's not a different word. It's actually a clip of the word because. Then you could also say like something like copter or helicopter. And it's taking the front clip of the word, like shoot for parachute. So it's only taking the last part of the word. That's why it's called front clipping. Phone, the most common one that we use. Oh, where's my phone? And we're talking about telephone. The front clip of the word, telephone. Okay, so that's front clipping. And then you have back clipping, which is the total opposite. Instead of taking the last part of the word, the part that is in front, it takes the first part of the word, the part that is in the back. That's why it's called back clipping. For example, hang on a sec. Hang on a second. So it took up until here. And it's talking about a second. Wait for a sec. Wait for a second. That's the same meaning. And deli for delicatessen. It's very common. This it's usually it's the word to talk about food for something that is delicious. And you can say deli. It also refers to restaurants that sell very simple things like sandwiches. And it's called a deli because they are considered not like very simple sandwiches, like, but with some very nice and good bread, and that's why it's called delicatessen. But the word has a back clipping at the beginning, which is deli. And fan, very common one if you are a fan for an artist, a singer. So you're called a fan instead of being called as a fanatic. But the real word is fanatic. Fan is a back clip of the word fanatic. Interesting, isn't it? Disco for discotheque. You already knew that one. I guess so. I don't know. Front and back clipping. This becomes a little more interesting because it has like the combination of A and B. And now it's a little different, like cost and flu. So what does it mean? It cuts the beginning and the end of the word and it keeps the middle part. So like the example here, because, can you take a look at the front clipping when you use cause? And here it's only using this little part in between. Cause. It sounds the same, but the clipping is different. It takes out the front and the back. And flu. Oh my goodness, who doesn't talk about the flu in terms of H1N1, influenza. But in English, it's more common to have the clipping of it, the flu. And phrase clipping, which becomes a little more interesting because it's a whole phrase, like public house, and it's called a pub. And like pop, popular music, and so on. So those are the clipping ones, and they become a little bit like an abbreviation, but it's just by clipping the words, by shortening the words, by taking a little piece of the word. So hopefully you're understanding this. If you're not, make sure to make some questions because this is your last chance. Let's continue. Then an acronym. What is different of just a simple abbreviation and an acronym? Let's see. So that's another way of making a short word. And so an acronym, it shouldn't be here, there's a misspelled on that. It's the process of forming new words by joining the initial letters of a phrase. Taking the initial letters when you have a phrase. Words forming this way can be subdivided into initialisms and acronyms depending on the pronunciation of the words. So there is a difference between even the acronyms. So that's the thing. You are going to have initialisms and acronyms. Initialisms are the ones that are basically found in through the internet. We have made them as abbreviations, but they are actually initialisms. And initialisms are words pronounced letter by letter. Here is the difference, and please pay attention to the pronunciation. They are pronounced letter by letter. So for example, IT is not pronounced it, because it is the saying of it, a thing. But IT, which is, it stands for information technology. So pay attention to that, because an initialism should be pronounced. If you're pronouncing them, they should be pronounced letter by letter. Again, IT. Then you have www, which is, you already know, the World Wide Web. ASAP, which stands for as soon as possible. You're gonna find this one if you are sending an email also. It's very common to say something like, hurry up, ASAP. There's people, I've heard like people saying like ASAP, but no, it should be pronounced like ASAP, as soon as possible. I need that report ASAP, like for now. You better finish it ASAP. FYI, who haven't seen this one? It's super, super, super common, FYI, which stands for your information. As you can see, initialisms, they have the first letters of the words forming the phrase or the sentence. FYI, FYI, for your information. LOL, laughing out loud. AFAIC, as far as I am concerned. Again, as far as I am concerned. AFAIC. AAMOF, as a matter of fact. AAMOF, as a matter of fact. Oh, again, I should have left this one, ASAP, which was already here. BTW, by the way, BTW. OTOH, pardon me, OTOH, on the other hand. You're gonna see these ones written a lot. I have seen them a lot on TW, which is another, this is another acronym. It's used, or it stands for Twitter. I have seen them also on Instagram, because usually on Twitter and Instagram, you don't write a lot. That's the difference with Facebook, because on Facebook, you usually write a little more, but not on Instagram or Twitter. On Twitter, you actually have a count for words. You can refer to an article and then you can write a little more, but yeah, it's usually for short messages. And so you're gonna see these acronyms a lot over there, like OTOH, BTW, ASAP, IT, FYI, and so on. And like I said, they are pronounced and they should be read. If you're not speaking, you should tell your brain, or letter by letter. You should read them like that. Like I was saying, IT, WWW, ASAP, AFAIC, AAMOF, BTW, OTOH. You should become familiar with those. And for acronyms, there's a little different. They are pronounced as normal words, as if it was a word. So the regular acronyms that we are used to, they are and represent the first letter of the words, but they are pronounced as a word, not letter by letter, like NATO, AIDS, basic, laser, sonar, and bomb. And their meaning is like, for example, for NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. For AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which we call it in Spanish. I have to write it like that. And it's the same in Spanish. It's pronounced as a word, but it's an acronym. BASIC, which is for Beginners All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code. And well, this is normally like for different levels of like softwares, for example, or not a software, maybe a game. So yes, it's the Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code. LASER, it's actually an acronym, and it stands for Light Wave Amplification by Stimulated Emission of Radiation. That's the meaning for laser. Sonar, it means sound navigation and ranging. And bomb stands for nuclear bomb. So, like I said, they're different. Initialisms, again, they are pronounced, or if you're not speaking, you should read them with just your brain, but try to read them letter by letter if it is an initialism. But if it is an acronym, then you need to read them as if it was an actual word. Okay. So there is another type of abbreviation that you can encounter, which is combination of letters and numbers. So we'll see a combination of letters and then a combination of numbers. You can see in the second column of these visual aids that I have the examples. So this is actually very common in English, and you're gonna find it a lot when you're using internet places or rooms or social network or whatever it is that you're visiting through the internet. But as you can see, for example, a combination of letters, R, it could mean R. The letter B, it could be just meaning bee or a bee, the animal. The letter C, to talk about seeing. O, the letter O, to talk about O. OIC or OIC, to talk about, oh, I see. You see the resemblance of it? Oh, I see. ICQ, when it's talking about I see you. How are you? When it talks about how are you? Because it's very similar to what you're saying. And also, it's not just about letters, but also numbers. Numbers, they get combined with letters and they form very funny combinations. Well, I find them funny, but they actually sound that way. So that's why you can use numbers. And that's for English. I don't know if you can do things like this in Spanish, but it's not that common, that combination like in Spanish. No, in English, yes. So it's like, for example, for B and 4, it sounds like if you put them together, it could sound like B4, but the actual combination sounds like B4. So yeah, it's used to express something like before. And you can find things like this, B4, and it's a little combination, and it's an abbreviation. To and be, which means to be. Because it sounds that way. If you read that, it's to and it's the letter B, right? But when you put them together, like so close to each other, it sounds more like this, and it could also sound like the actual meaning of to be. some and one, someone, because it sounds that way. F to F, it stands for face to face. Very common. I used this sentence at the beginning of the class when I said, oh yeah, when we're meeting face to face, there was a question from Carmen, are we in the last meeting? Are we in the last class today? And I said, yeah, like face to face, yes. So if we're going to write that and very fast, and we're using like some social network, you're gonna see that very common, F to F. B2B, which is business to business. 3W, it refers to a web page, a website, the World Wide Web. Forever, which means forever. And I have seen this one. I saw it on a movie a long time ago that the internet was already very common, like 15 years ago or something. Like some people will explain like forever. Just the sign forever. Forever. Or you could also use whatever. I'm just showing you, like you could also use the sign language for saying that. Yeah, I don't know, just to make a comment about that. Okay, so let's keep moving forward. I need to clean this up because it's going to show on the next slide. I'm going to clean it, little drawing. And there's another, which is called blending. So far, we have seen clipping, we have seen, well, regular abbreviations, then clipping, acronyms, and the combination of letters and numbers. And there's another thing like this one that is called blending. And blending, it's kind of interesting because it actually takes two different words apart, the very different words, and it's combined. It merges, it clips, but not the meaning of clipping. It merges together, they are linked, and they form a new word. So it takes a little part of one word and some other part of the other word, and it makes one, and that's why it's called blending. So blending is the formation of new words by combining part of two words, or a word plus a part of another word, such as smog, which the word smog actually came from smoke plus fog. Smoke plus fog. Smog. It is a relatively complex form of compounding. There are mainly 3 kinds of blends on Internet English. So the first 2 types of blends may be the combination of one part of one word and one part of the other word, or one word plus a part of another word. And like we said, it's kind of complex because there's not really a rule for that. This doesn't come from grammar. Speaking of rules about English, no, they are just formed. So like netizen, we mentioned this one before. Netizen comes from net and citizen. And net, it's from the network, actually. Netiquette, so it is from net, from the internet, and etiquette. Infomercial, which comes from information commercial. So it took this part and this part of those words, and it formed a new one. Auto logon, which is for like automation logon. When you're logging in to a new web page or to even an application, if you can choose the auto logon, which means the automation logon. Like next time that you're gonna open that application, you don't want to keep logging in. So you said on the you said on the differences of the application, you choose, oh no, I don't want to sign in every time that I open it. So just want to choose the automation for it. And so that you're not gonna waste time next time to keep logging in. Infocosm, which comes from information cosmos. Computerate, very common also to refer to someone that is literate in computers. Commernet, commercial network, very common these days. When we started going through a pandemic last year, it became more and more common because you cannot go to stores, so Commernet was the option. Like, yeah, just buy something online, which you used to do it, but not as common as right now. It was less than what it is this year. NetSign, which is for Net Magazine, which is Net and Sign over there. Info channel, informal channel. TechNet, technology net. Webster, webmaster. Buckster, back broadcaster. You see? Then that's why it's called blending. But there's also another type of blending, which is a combination of one letter, a letter of one word and another word. And this is like more common ones for anything that is about electronic, but it's so many different words that use that word. The E from electronic, like for email, electronic mail. E-cash, electronic cash. E-wallet, electronic wallet. E-life, electronic life. E-commerce, electronic commerce. E-book, electronic book. Yes. Any questions until now about blending, clipping, acronyms, and so on?
No.
Okay. Thanks, Carmen.
No.
And I believe that was the sound of Gilberto, probably, right? Maybe. Compounding. So compounding, what it is, it has become like more common on the internet English, which is about world building. So that's the meaning. Compounding, componiendo. So it's about making up words just because, just going through this fast evolving world right now, and especially about the language. So it's about formation of new words on the network. And yes, it's about network English. These words are mostly some professional terms related to computer network, but since we are engineers, so it has become very common for us to be using those words, and they are compound words. But it's a shortened way of a combination of different words. So a great part of these terms are neologisms, like new words. They are generally developed from words which have the meaning of networks, such as web, net, computer, internet, and online. So we see a few examples here, and examples like bandwidth, cybernation, cyberstalker, hyperaccess, hypertext, hackup, readme, hotmail, hotwire, and so on. Interesting, right? And yeah, there is like the compound of different words, and you just put them together, and that's fine. Because they are different, like bandwidth, two words, but they are put into one. Cybernation is the same thing. Cyber and nation, two different words, and they were made into one. Cybernation. So like hyperaccess, hyper and access, two different words. So just one. Like hotwired, two different words, hot and wired, and it's made into just one. And that's why it's taken into this consideration of different type of words. Derivation. It's not about mathematics. So derivation, it will be about an affix that is able to derive many new words, which is easy to understand. And we studied the affixes last semester. So I don't know if you remember them, but hopefully. So affixation is generally defined as the formation of words by adding word forming or derivational affixes to bases. This process is also known as derivation, and some of the most productive ones are here. There is a list, like eyeball. So you have this little sign, the hyphen over here, that is telling you it's gonna be a word in before, and then you're gonna have the end as eyeball. Compatible, executable, bootable. Some examples: compatible, executable, bootable. You see? And like the example, like cyber, and then you have at the end next to it another word like cyberspace, cyber start, cyber paper or cyberport, cyber crime, and so on. So many different words that have derived from cyber. D, debug, defrag, delark, and so on. Digit, like digiter, digit head, and so on. Hyper, a lot of them, like hyperlink, hypermedia, hypertext, hyperaccess, and so on. Micro, you have seen this a lot. Microserve, micromoney, micropayment. Yeah, like teleconference, what we're doing right now. It's not just video conference, it's also called teleconference. Telecommute, teleordering, and so on. Teleordering. Reboot, reassemble, redirect, and so on. Subdirectory, subnet, and so on. Eyes, digitize, maximize, and so on. So like we're saying, a suffix, it will be a prefix or, well, an affix will be a prefix or a suffix. It will be at the beginning or at the end of one word. And then you make a derivation of the words. And like the examples that we're just taking a look at them, they are very common examples that you're going to find for words that are used online or through the internet, which could be, again, using email, using a way to communicate through a web page, and using some social network or some chat rooms, and so on. There is more. The use of symbols. It became very common, like late the 90s to the beginning of 2000. It became very common to start using symbols, and it became common because it was part of the internet communication. When all of those messengers started working and you started communicating with people from different places, it was easier to put some like feelings on it. And then that's when symbols started being created to show some feelings. So it became so common. Right now you have emoticons, which are part of what we're going to talk about. But back on the day, I can say that, like I'm saying, at the end of the 90s, like 98, 99, 2000, it was a way to show your feelings, like just using some signs. Like, for example, when you use this, the colon, you were using it for the eyes, the dash for the nose, and the parentheses for using the mouth, for representing a mouth, and then you will form a face with the combination of them. And then like the combination of T-T, it was a representation, or still is. I have seen it in a few publications when you go through social media. And again, like I was saying, like if you go to, and see something like on Twitter, Instagram, in some different places, if you want to write something very fast, and if you don't have the emoticon, or if you don't want to go and look for the emoticon, you can just use the combination of signs. And I've seen that one still is used for crying, and also this sign for joy, like very happy, like your eyes go like kind of close when you smile too much, and then your eyes close. It doesn't work for me because I do have big eyes, but for so many people it works like that. So that's why. For joy, and which they are very vivid and humorous. Like for example, a regular smile, you will see it like this, and if you turn it, it represents definitely the smile. For sad, you have the open parenthesis, which it's actually for a sad face. Instead of having the happy face, then you have the sad face. Disappointed, you have the E letter over there, which forms a very weird form of the mouth, but it's supposed to look like that, like you are disappointed. And then the brackets, which are like this type of parentheses. The brackets are used for hacks, and also the, I don't know if you remember this one, but also the letter O, because it represents the hack very close. So then we close it. And so it represents also hacks. And laughter, when you use in the face the letter D, the capital D. Anger, wow, when you open the mouth, wow. And at, it's also used for what, represent the question of what. I don't know if you remember some of these symbols. I do, because I am part of the millennials. You're not, because you are from a different generation, but being a millennial, I had the chance to see the changes in technology, and I grew up seeing those and studied those. And then I entered into the when the era of the internet was a boom, when it all started. So it was part of me growing up, and that's why I can remember all of this, and I still use them, and a lot of us use them. So you are going to still see these kind of symbols through the internet. Gilbert, do you have something to say? Go ahead, go on. Thank you.
When I am use XD in capital letters when you are loading, well, it is the one I use the most.
Oops.
XD in
XD.
capital letter.
XD.
Yes.
It wasn't written that nice. So it's like XD. Yeah, like you're doubting something, right? And something like it's very, very super common. It's just symbols. Do you know this one?
Kiss and
Hacks and
embrace.
kisses. It's hacks and kisses.
Yes. Okay. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Hacks and kisses. So the X actually represents two people like getting very close and like almost about kissing. And but then when you put the X, they're kissing. And the O, like I was saying over here, it hacks. So it's one person, the other person, and they get so close, and it makes the O. So they hack. Hacks and kisses. Yeah, thank you, Gilberto. That's another sign, the XD, and yeah, so true. It's faster. It's a faster way to explain something instead of like writing everything, and it has made us speak faster when we're using internet communication. Yeah, definitely. Characteristics of internet English. Yeah, so all of that we were mentioning, we need to say that it is sort of like categorized. Internet English is formed out of the special needs of internet communication. Sometimes, like we're saying, we need to speak faster, and it's a way to just communicate like that. And yeah, like YouTube, I was forgetting about that one. Like if you see the comments on YouTube, they are full of all of these abbreviations, super full of them, because the comments, people don't usually write a whole letter of it, like so many words. No, they usually write some short comments, and they use a combination of letters, they use clipping, and they use derivations, they use symbols, and so on. Yeah, it's very good. I don't know if you're used to that, but right now, since I've been having to use my YouTube channels, because I have two, so much lately for the last year. Yeah, I've been reading comments, not on my channels, because on my channels people don't comment too much because it's just for you, my students. I've only have a very few comments, but yeah, they're very short and they have the combination of this. But I have become user of YouTube this last year. I used to be, but and not as much as I am right now. I have to say I am a consumer of all the information that it is in there. So many different type of channels and information, and you can learn a lot by just watching anything over there. So yeah, I was just saying that. And yeah, it is characterized by fast innovation and quick spread, and has the characteristics of, here's the thing, for internet English, because let's just face it, if you go to internet, you can find like every kind of information in English. Everything is in English because that's sort of like the international language. You can find things specifically in different languages, but if you know the language, if you know English, you can see the differences between the language. There is a lot of popularity for the language. I'm talking about English here. Popularity, creativity, brevity, and vividness for English. And that's how the language has become more interesting. And it's just for the last 3 decades. Before that, there was no actual use of the internet. So now it has changed a lot for the language, but still the language has its grammar consideration and all of that considered by the expert in linguistics. But still, we have to face the reality. When you go through internet, there's a little bit of difference for the language. So facing this, we're going to talk now about popularity, creativity, brevity, and vividness, which is kind of similar to what we were defining just before, but now we call it in these different ways. So now let's go and see, first of all, popularity. So when we're talking about popularity, we talk about that being in the network, using the English language, it has become very popular and familiar for people. And that's why very quickly it's changing. So there is the use of derivation and compounding. We talked about them before, so you already know what it is. It makes the internet popular and easy to understand. Why it makes it like this? Netizens, citizens of the net, of the network, of internet, people that spend a lot of time in the internet and creating things through the internet. So those are the netizens. And a lot of you have become netizens by now. And I have to say, like, yeah, me, maybe, probably, yeah, I do spend a lot of time online. So that's the truth. Netizens can recognize many new words through their affixes. I do. That's well, yeah, I said that I'm sort of like, I have become one of those. So for instance, like cyber, we talked about this word before. It originally comes from Greek. So the actual word, the grammar part of the word, the meaning of the word, it's about computer or net. But now it derived different words and it has compounded so many different words like cyber activist or cyber activism, cyber addict, cyber attack, cyber cop, cyber brain, cyber surfing, and so on. So many different examples. Words combined with it are like e-business. When we use electronic, e-form, we talked about this one before, email, we mentioned it, but with business, very interesting, e-service, etc. And other familiar affixes like digit, internet, nout, etc. They are very common, and that's why we are referring to popularity. And through popularity, netizens start to understand all of these words because you see them here, there, and everywhere. So you finally understand them by the context. You don't actually need a dictionary. And some of these words don't even exist in dictionary until a netizen writes it on an electronic dictionary. And many new compound words are the combination of a common word and a word which carries a specific meaning. For example, or for instance, like web, which originally means network of fine threads spun by a spider or some other spinning creature. That's the actual meaning of web, but it has a specific meaning for the internet. So in internet English, we actually use it for understanding words like web page, website, web messenger. So web is about connecting, right? It's not like something like a spider web. Nah, we let it be for connecting people or connecting information like website and so on. Nice, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So now, since we talk about popularity, now we can talk about creativity. So it's about thinking outside the box. That's why I use this, this image over here. Most netizens are usually young people and they have a great creativity, like you guys. The number of internet English increases by 500 words each year. Isn't that impressive? Increases every year, like 500 new words. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, at some point, Oxford Dictionary, an actual very common place, and they actually print out the very nice dictionaries. I have a couple of them at my office, not with me right now, but I use them a lot. They once wanted to record these new words, but 500 every year, that's a lot. So it's like they failed. So it's a very high speed of being creating. That's why it's called creativity, because they are creating so many different words every year. And it's English. We're talking about English. This doesn't really happen in Spanish or another language. It's more about English, which is very interesting about this language. Besides those newly coined words and expressions, the use of signs on the internet to express gestures and emotions can be regarded as a good illustration of creativity. And we can talk about emoticons. Emoticons, well, it should be just one M, because it's about emotions. Emoticons. And you have seen them a lot. And also right now, it's not just emoticons. Sometimes, I mean, in this type of communication, nowadays, like on 2020s, on this decade, it has become more common to use stickers. And with that, you're sending words, emotions, and everything with just one sticker, right? Am I right? And that's for any language. But yeah, I may just say that it has become so common for communication in a creative way for the internet, and it has language on it. And there's also some other words that have a metaphorical meaning. A metaphor, it is about a powerful instrument that is cognitive. So when you have a metaphor, it's sort of like a message in between something different. So metaphorically speaking, it's a map of elements from a different source, and it's abstract and it's intangible. And so it has a metaphor has become a very common way for communication and in science and everywhere. It's actually part of a culture. People will use metaphors for speaking, but in terms of internet English language or technological English language or so on, because I have a few examples here that are only related for technology, but yeah, there's a metaphor on them. For example, window. You already know that a window, it has the meaning like you're gonna open a wall or a roof or a building, and so it's an a place or a part of a building that you can open for the space, and it will let in light or air. You have windows in your walls. Like right now, behind me, you can see some windows in this background. Yeah, but it's a metaphor. When you're talking about technology, you use the word window for a different thing. It refers to one of the different work areas in a computer screen. For example, for Windows 98, 2000, and so on. Windows XP, Windows 10, Windows 8 came, first was like XP, 7, 8, and then 10, right? And so it actually refers for the areas on a computer screen. Those are the windows. But yeah, it's different when we're talking about the language, right? Package. It means originally an object or set of objects wrapped in a box or in paper and sent or given to someone. But, big but, when we're using it in English that is used through the internet, it refers to a set of different pieces of computer software that are sold together as one unit. It's a package, but it's a package for a computer package. Sometimes like a design software, it has different packages. So you call it a package. A virus. Who doesn't know what a virus is? Well, I hope you know what a virus is. Right now we're dealing with one very harmful virus. Is a simple living thing that is smaller than a bacterium, and it can enter your body and make you sick. The one we're dealing with right now through this pandemic, it can make you very, very sick, or it can kill you, which is why we have been living a different era right now. Everyone is in their houses because of a virus. But when we're talking about computer, internet, technology, when we call a virus, we call a virus a program that enters the computer and it damages or destroys information that you have stored. So it is very bad because it can sicken your computer, but not a person. Yeah. And that's a very common one. And so that's why it's from a metaphorical meaning, because it doesn't have the literal meaning. It's a metaphor, like memory, mouse, navigator, firewall, Internet Explorer, Hit. Typical examples to illustrate this point. They're just about metaphors. Yes? Hopefully you understood this one. Brevity. After we talk about popularity and we talk about these common words, we talk about brevity now. So yeah, it's basically about making abbreviations. The vocabulary abbreviations, it could simplify what you're saying. And we explained this before with the other article. So for example, like ETW, by the way, FYI, for your information. Oh, there's a mistake over there. IMHO, in my humble opinion, very common to say. BF, which could be best friend or boyfriend. We talked about that one before. SP, about support, and so on. And yeah, that was about speaking of the vocabulary using abbreviations to different places, through the internet, which could have been email, could have been social networks, could have been chat rooms, and so on. And it has become very common, and that's why we had to speak about that one. But yeah, that was it. For the last part, we're gonna go back and visit your English courses. Those that you took on your other years when you were not a freshman, actually, right? No, because as a freshman on your first year, you didn't have English courses. I'm right. I think I'm right. Hopefully. So you only took English courses from your second, third, and fourth year on university. But yeah, let's still visit those. But irregular verbs, they're not as easier as the regular verbs. And they even have different pronunciation for every time tense. Like it's different for present tense than from past tense, from past participle, and so on. And that's why with irregular verbs, the English grammar becomes more complex. And in those terms, what can we do? So the only thing that we can do is about memorizing. We have to be patient and we have to learn about them. And it's about memorizing those verbal conjugations and how can you use them. So a few recommendations, 3 different recommendations for you and for everyone that has studied English, and we should just keep studying it. And that's the first recommendation. We need to choose a dozen verbs. That's a recommendation. Choose a dozen verbs to memorize every day. And now you're gonna be like, what? Do I have to practice English every day? Yeah, you should. If you really want to improve in the language, you need to practice every single day. It is preferable to start with the verbs that remain unchanged in each time, present, past, participle. Since they require less mental effort, it is also advisable to choose verbs with a similar sound in order to memorize them more quickly. Second recommendation would be to write down the verbs. Don't just study them, don't just read them, write them down. Write them down. You can write them on post-it notes to stick on the refrigerator, on your computer screen, and you're not gonna have a screen. I don't know. To stick on the fridge or other key points in your home or office. Just make sure that you're doing some study for these irregular verbs. You're gonna need them. I have examples in the next 2 slides, which are the last part of this class. But yeah, you're gonna need them. Please pay attention to them. If you want to really memorize them, to understand what they mean, you need to use them in sentences. You already learned how to make sentences in your English courses, so you just need to keep studying by yourself. For each verb, you should write down at least 3 sentences. This will allow you to learn to use the verbs in context and to memorize them faster. Yeah, faster. So these have been a few recommendations. I'm just going to show you two different slides that have irregular verbs and with a few examples of the use of them. So, for example, irregular verbs, like we said, they are used different depending on the tense, like present tense, past tense, and past participle are different. That's why we need to memorize the difference of them to be able to understand the meaning. Like, for example, to lead, led. To cost, they are the same. And these are the simple ones to study them. But then to forget, forgotten. To tell, told. We need to study them to understand what they mean. To learn, learned, and learned. To meet, met. To send, sent. Read, read, and read. To show, showed, and shown. To get, got, and gotten. To speak, spoke, spoken. To spell, spelled. To choose, chose, chosen. To write, wrote, written. To quit, quit. That's one of the easiest ones. To deal, dealt, and dealt. To find, found, and found. So let's take a look at the examples. Those are just, it was just a very simple list of irregular verbs, but there are plenty of them. So you should just keep on studying them as the advice that I just told you before. An example, my team leader asked me to lead the meeting tomorrow. These are examples for business. Take a look at them. My team leader asked me to lead the meeting tomorrow. This investment will cost the company $400,000. Again, I'm telling you, these are examples for business. These are not simple sentences, just like, oh, I wash my hair. Oh, I sit on the chair. Nah, these are examples for common English used on business. I have forgotten to fill out the document. I told the manager what we discussed yesterday. We met the top manager last month. I sent an email with the information you require. Have you read the company's policy? Actually, this is past participle. And I need to point out the have. Have you read the company's policy? I am going to show our project to the manager. Marta got a promotion for her hard work. We only deal with companies with good credit records. Again, take a look at the example. This is something, some phrases, some very common sentences that you're going to see when you're working. And then you're gonna say like, but I'm gonna work in a Mexican company. What have I told you? This is a globalized word. In this world, you are going to be dealing with people from any place in the world. And the way to go, if you receive a call, if you receive a visit from, let's just say that a person from France comes to your company. They are not speaking Spanish, but they know that you as a Mexican are supposed to speak English. So they're going to speak English to you. And let's just say that there's going to come a person from Australia. They speak English. So they're expecting, because in everywhere in the world, you are supposed to be studying English. So they're expecting that you as a Mexican speak English. So like I told you before, this is a globalized world. You need to consider to keep practicing. And that's why I put this part at the end of the course of the English Conversation Seminar to remind you that this is not the end of your studies in terms of the language, and you need to keep on doing it. And now it's going to be up to you to keep studying or not. It has always been up to you, but reality facing you right now is that it's only what you decide. If you want to keep learning, yeah, just keep studying. If don't do anything. I'm just saying. So when we talk about phrasal verbs, irregular phrasal verbs, like for example, to fall through, fail through, and fallen through. To set up, it's actually used the same. To bring up, brought up. To go through, went through, gone through. To bring forward, brought forward. To keep off, kept off. To run out. To take over, took over, taken over. To fall behind, fell behind, and fallen behind. So let's see examples. And again, these examples are for business English. So like English that is regularly used at the workforce. Examples. The deal fell through when another company made our client a better offer. The company is still paying the debt from when it was formed. The meeting seemed to be going well until Mark brought up the issue of pay raises. My proposal for the new market is unlikely to go through. Judy brought forward a good idea regarding the deal with the new client. I kept off the issue of holiday pay during the last meeting. I have run out of paper in my office. The asset managed company took over the bank's loans. I fell behind with all of my paperwork. So you've seen all of the examples from the list are used in here. And it's just to show you that it's very simple use of English. But this is not just basic English, this is advanced English, and you're supposed to be using advanced English by now. So you are going to be expected to be able to speak like this, like the examples here. So what I want to tell you right now is this is the end of the class. This is the end of the course. We have been practicing English, and in terms of saying like that, practicing for just about a year, 2 different semesters. You should become more familiar with the language. And in terms of that, some other advices for you if you want to keep being familiar with the language, it's to read English, read a lot. It helps a lot. Listen English. Again, listen a lot. What can you read in English? Whatever that comes to you. In terms of the internet reading, you can just go to any web page in English, or you can just switch your computer to English and you can just keep practicing. And in your the way that you serve the English, you can just select the English language over there also, and it's going to keep popping up at the beginning of your searches, everything that comes in English first. Then listen in English as much as you can. I will advise you to watch movies in English and listen to music. So this was about movies in English, and keep on looking for the lyrics of the songs. Understand the lyrics. That will help you a lot in improving the language. So you can just like every time that you use for relaxing time, you could just turn your relaxing time into your study time without even knowing or without even noticing, by just doing something for you immersed in the language. So yes, those are some basic recommendations that I will give you. Like, just keep studying the language, keep immersing yourself into the English language. It is so sad, very sad, when another student comes. Like yesterday, we have someone graduating, and it's not has been the first time. When there's a common question for anyone that is presenting their final dissertation for their internship, and when they are the final graduation, the actual act for it, and there's a lot of people who says like, oh yeah, we should improve in English. When I was working, oh, I thought that I needed more English. It's like, we keep on telling you when you're in school, we give you a lot of tools. You have books, you have a lot of information around yourselves. And like I was telling you, it's up to you. There's no school of English that can help you if you don't want to learn. So again, and again, it's up to you. It's up to everyone. But it's not always about the university. The university has given you a lot of information, and you're supposed to keep practicing. And that's why I'm telling you, it's up to you. Do you want to learn more English? just keep on practicing, keep on doing it. Go and look for some more ways to keep learning. You can find more schools for English also. There's a lot of schools here in the state, and there's a lot of schools that are online schools that are very good, but it's up to you. And in those schools, you're gonna have to pay extra money for that, but it's worth it. You can just pay an extra course for English. I will do it. Like I did it when I was a student in university, and it paid for. It's worth it. So with those recommendations, I just want to tell you again that this is our last class, our last meeting for the semester, our last meeting for the English Conversation seminar. And we had English Conversation 1 and English Conversation 2. And yeah, we got to the end of it. You're just going to have, I'm not going to give you some practice about the abbreviations because you are supposed, I'm saying, with quotation marks, you are supposed to be using them by now, hopefully. But in terms of the grammar practice, I'm gonna give you just a list. It's about like 40 different sentences. I give you the sentences and you have to change them into present and past tense. And that way you're gonna practice a little bit, and that's it. That's your last exercise. I really hope that you had fun in these 2 semesters and that you enjoyed the language and that you learned a little more. We have been practicing a lot, but again, it was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you too. And it has been nice. It has been a very good group. Somehow your group is really good, really nice. You paid a lot of attention. Most of you participated through the semester. So most of you are doing a good job. Congratulations. And for those of you leaving school next week, congratulations too. And welcome to the real world. Carmen, you have some words?
Thank you very much, Professor. And I did have fun.
Thanks to you
Thank you.
all. You're welcome. Thank you very much for being here and for taking the risk of the course. And I hope to see you again. Don't forget about us in the university. Come back and visit sometime. And again, those of you leaving for an internship next week, in a week and a half, good luck for you all. Have fun. Remember to enjoy everything that you're doing. So try to have fun. Not just learn, but have fun of everything. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye.